With the WagerTalk one-day power pass, you receive every play from every betting consultant for one full day at the ridiculously discounted price of just $149. What's better than spending the day watching and following a great slate of games? Watching, following, and winning those games. Get every WagerTalk expert and every game they release for that day.
Hey, Teddy Covers. I'm Lawrence Presman. Welcome, everyone, to WagerTalk Today. And yeah, I'm not in a T-shirt. It's freezing cold in my house. That's what happens when you turn the heat off at this time of the year. I have my vaccine shot booked for Friday. I'm pumped. Just did puck time. Now I got Teddy Covers, Bryan Leonard, and Arthur DiCesare. Teddy, this is going to be a fun show. Brian's going to look at a couple of baseball games. Both go early, though, although most baseball games today go early, and we're going to look at a couple of hockey games. Of course, Arthur DiCesare, he's going to tell us where all the money went, where it's going, give us some good actionable info. You got your big game breakdown. I got a penalty box segment, and we're going to delve deep in between guests on whether you should continue to bet these teams after losing 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. games. I'm excited. How are you, man? What's going on?
I'm real excited, man. I got a 5%er going tonight in NBA action. We've been running real good throughout the month of April, and I just signed an exclusive deal to be with WagerTalk long term. So it's a good Wednesday, my friend. Excited to be around.
Yeah, and you know what, Teddy? Congratulations on that. Look, obviously, I was part of the negotiations with you, and man, you drove a hard bargain, but it was worth it, just like divorce. We are so excited. Guys, Teddy Covers no longer could be found at any other site except WagerTalk and Sports Memo. And frankly, Teddy, that is the way it should be. Welcome full-time and exclusively to the family. And, we're for all the crap we give each other, we're lucky to have you, dude.
I appreciate that. And, it's really flattering and heartwarming. I mean, I got a lot of love on Twitter last night, and I'll tell you, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you. It's genuinely, I genuinely appreciate it. It makes me feel good. It's way better than when you lose a game and they rip you on Twitter, tell you how much you stink, telling you that they appreciate it. Thank you, guys. And again, nothing changes. We're going to be here every day like we've been here every day. The only thing that changes is that I'm now exclusive with WagerTalk and Sports Memo.
What a testament to WagerTalk.com. In the last 12 months, Dave Koken, exclusive, Steve Merrill, exclusive, Teddy Covers, exclusive, Ski Profits, exclusive. It just goes on and on and on. And it's a real testament to what's going on at WagerTalk, led by Rick Alec and Johnny Detroit. Just outstanding stuff. Teddy, what happened in the world of sports last night?
Oh, goodness. There's some games we got to talk about when it comes to bad beats, bad bets, and bad for the books. You want to put the fork into what happened last night that allows you to focus on what's going on today. And let's see. Start with Milwaukee. They're up by 10, and the Bucks 116-106, under 4 to play. The line, it was bet from -6.5 to -2.5 without Giannis, but it wasn't like that was money. They took the game off the board and posted it back up at 2.5. So there wasn't a huge decision for the house, but it's the Bucks -2.5. They're laying 10 under 4 to play. They've dominated the whole game. And then Oubre hits a 3, and Oubre hits another 3. It's Steph and Wiggins and Steph and Oubre with the game-winning free throws, and Wiggins with the game-sealing block, and the game sneaks over in the final minute too. Bottom line, if you had Milwaukee, that was a tough way to lose. The Warriors, for a few brief minutes at the end of the fourth quarter, looked like the Warriors again last night. David Sharp, I appreciate it. He sends every night. He's my eyes and ears on Twitter. He sent me a couple last night. He said, see you later to the under 10.5 if you had it. That, of course, the Rockies and the D-backs. Solo shot in the 7th and another in the bottom of the 9th against Davinsky. The Rockies end up losing in extras, and the under crashes and burns with the blown save in the bottom of the 9th. And says, damn, I feel better than anyone who had the over in Atlanta and New Orleans. 197 after 3 quarters and can't get to 231.5. That's what you call a bad beat. And I'm telling you, This was brutal. There were two brutal ones last night, and this was one of them. All right. The in-game total in the second half was 254 and a half. All right. They were at 197 after three. And of course, you had multiple good looks down the stretch. A three to get there on the last possession, and it missed, and Atlanta dribbled out. Lands 230, total 231 and a half. The Pelicans-Hawks game died late. That was brutal for overbettors. But the very worst beats, Prez, the very worst beats in any sport come on MLB unders. This one was absolutely excruciating. Excruciating. If you had the Yankees-Orioles under yesterday, take the day off today, because that one, it's 4-0 into the bottom of the eighth. The total's eighth. Okay, there's no offense in the game. All right, then there's 2 outs, and Judge is up, and he hits a 3-run bomb. Okay, you're still 7-0. You're going to the ninth. No big deal. We're under 8. Even if they get a run, we're going to push, right? Ground out, 2 outs, nobody on. 0-2 count. Works it to a 3-2, and then gets a cheap single. And the next batter, boom, home run. F you, 7-2 final. Brutal for under better. When it comes to bad bets last night, Danny Bastrisky sent me this one last night. He's like, because I don't see the NHL. Like, Lightning at the Blue Jackets. What happened with that? Tons of Tampa money. Minus 180, but up to minus 220. Well, let's see. Columbus led that game 4-0, won it 4-2. Tampa, not a right side. Miami, the Marlins got a bunch of money. Alcantara, the wise guys love Alcantara. Minus 105, bet up to minus 130. Well, let's see. The big inning against him was a passed ball, a sacrifice fly, and a ground out. That's how they scored the 3 runs. But the Marlins can't hit. All that money lost. And there was Celtics money before tip-off, plus 2 down to pick them. The Sixers won that game, wire to wire. Couple of bad for the books, worth noting. Everybody's betting the Dodgers. Everyone's betting against the A's. Run line, too. That was not a good result for the books. The Dodgers continue to win. The A's continue to lose. And it was all Lakers money last night. Toronto, no Lowry, no Van Vliet. And they shot 5 of 33 from three-point range. Lakers plus 2 to minus 1. They won only by 9, but that game was an absolute blowout. That, not a great result for the house. So there you have it, Prez. Bad beats, bad bets, and bad for the books. Back to you, my friend.
Teddy, last night on the Canadian version of Sports Desk, Sports Center, or whatever it is, when the guy hit, when the Yankee game went over, I think it was a home run, I can't remember, the commentator in the park said, did you hear it? He goes, no. And that cashes the over.
I did not hear it, but that's good to hear.
Yeah, that's where we're headed in the world of sports, and I love it.
Well, back in the day, Al Michaels would always make the reference on Monday Night Football, and if he makes this field goal, it will really be over, or something like that. There would be a subtle reference, but I like them talking about it straight up. I got no problem with that.
It's the best.
Good.
You got it. Anyway, let's bring Bryan Leonard in. Bri, I'd love to have you back, man. You did such an outstanding job last week. We got 4 games we're going to talk about today, 2 baseball, 2 hockey. Both the baseball games are early, and one of them starts, well, when the show ends. So let's just get straight to it, man. Tampa Bay against Boston. Yarborough on the mound, getting a very, it's plus 105, give or take. You don't get him at that number very often. You going to take Tampa Bay here?
I am going to take Tampa Bay. You've got a team, I believe they're 19-12 against Boston the last 3 years. And when I take a look at these starters, I know Eovaldi really pitched well at the end of last season. He came out and had a game score of 59 in his first start. But, you got the better team in Tampa Bay. Yarborough is one of those guys that's been under the radar because he's been pitching a lot of those times where you've got a 4-inning guy, he leaves, and another guy comes in. And that's what Yarborough has done for a few years for Tampa. But now, since they don't have the starters that they've had in the past, they're counting on him to throw more pitches. So I like the situation here with Tampa. To me, the better team, at least equal for starters. Don't fully buy into Eovaldi as of yet. I know the guy's got plenty of talent, but every other time he's stepped up, he's fallen flat on his face. If Eovaldi comes out and throws a shutout here, maybe I'm wrong, but I like Tampa here. Can't go against them at a plus price here in this game.
So, Bry, talk to me about these game scores that you bring up with the pitchers. I see you use it in your write-ups as well. What are they? Where do you get that info? And are you finding the game scores to be an accurate way of looking at starting pitching moving forward as a predictive,
It
as opposed to reactive?
definitely is. I get it from baseballreference.com. Again, an average game score for a pitcher is 50. Anything below 50 is bad. So it's tough to just take a look at the ERA and how the guy did in that certain game. You see more of a generalized number. There's a lot of things that I use from the advanced stats in sports anymore. One of them is game score, and I talk about it a lot. I talk about WRC plus, which is very simple to calculate. That's a batter's stat in which 100 is league average. Anything above 100 is good. Anything below 100 is bad. Makes it easy to handicap when you know 50 for pitchers in the game score and 100 for batters in the WRC plus. You don't have to be a brain surgeon to figure these kind of numbers out.
Bryan Leonard joining us. Bry, Baltimore playing the Yankees. I'm not even going to set this game up. Let's go. What do you like?
I'm going to take Baltimore in this one, but in the past I used to play full units on the big underdogs, and they'd always seem to lose by a run. So I'm playing plus 1.5 in this one with Baltimore. John Means on the mound for Baltimore today. You go back his last game scores, going back his last 5 from last year. Last year he had 66, 61, 71, 74, all better than league average. In fact, when you're getting up to the 74s, those are really nice. Last time out, his opening start of the season against Boston, 80. And keep in mind, 4 of his last 5 that I've talked about have all been on the road. John Means is a guy right now, since he plays for Baltimore, and in the past, he's just been a journeyman. People are not paying attention to John Means. John Means is a guy right now, if you're looking for value, you want to play on him. And he's going against Jameson Taillon, who came over to the Yankees. He sat last year out, so he hasn't pitched in an entire year, and he hasn't pitched in this kind of an environment. He's been in New York. A lot of guys come to New York, and they just can't handle it. There's been some good players that have pitched in New York, and they just can't handle the media. We'll find out about Taillon as the season goes on. But he hasn't pitched at all this year. This is his first start in New York City, and he hasn't pitched in the majors in 2 years. I prefer Baltimore plus the 1.5 as opposed to the full game with the plus money. But hey, Means is a guy you want to bet on right now, and I'm looking to fade Taillon.
So let me ask you this, Bry, because you went to the run line for this game as opposed to the 5-inning line. And I'm curious as to why. I mean, because it sounded like the case you were making in my ear. It sounded like, hey, you like this starting pitcher versus that. You think Baltimore's live. I worry about that Orioles bullpen every time they get on the field. And against the Yankees lineup, we saw it last night again with the Judge 3-run bomb. Would you consider a 5-inning wager on this one as opposed to the run line?
And the only problem with the 5-inning is you get paid less. But I think both of them have advantages here. And the reason why I take a plus run line is you're trying to align yourself with the team. They just want to win the game. How many times have we seen a team up by 2 runs in the 9th inning, and and the guy walks and they let him steal second, steal third? They don't care about that run. I want to align myself with the team. I want to take teams that are going to win. You see this a lot of times in hockey. I'll lay the 280 favorite if I think this should be a 350 favorite. I have no problem. They just want to win. I don't play regulation in hockey. I play full game, and I don't lay 1.5 in hockey for the same reason, because a team just wants to win, and you'll rarely find me lay the 1.5 in baseball either.
Bryan Leonard, Bryan, we're going to go to hockey now. And I wanted to talk to somebody, and you happen to be the guy on, about the plus 1.5s in hockey. So before we get into the 2 games, I do bet a lot of regulations. I don't bet a lot of minus 1.5s. But I've never made a plus 1.5 bet in hockey in my life. Is that something you ever do? I mean, I'm scared of it because of the empty net. You got a 50, I don't know what the stats are, but it's got to be close to a 50% chance of that empty netter being a goal. And It just makes no, I mean, you're paying plus 1.5 and half the time it's minus 200. Do you ever make those bets?
Probably not for the minus 200, but there's plenty of value on that. You've got to realize in baseball, your average line right now, your total is about 9. In hockey, it's about 5.5. So every goal in hockey is extremely important. If a team is up 3-2, all they're trying to do at that point is to survive, especially if it's in the third period when they've got a lead going into the third period. How many times have you seen a team just keep the other team out of their zone, which is why, a lot of people handicap for shots on goal. You have to take into account how the game is being played. In fact, there's a couple of games yesterday which the team won the game and they were like outshot 2-1 because they take that lead. In fact, Buffalo was one of them. They take that lead and they're just trying to play defensive hockey. They take that 4-3 lead. All of a sudden, they don't care about offense. So the other team's coming down in their range the entire time. They're piling up the shots, but they're in good defensive position. And you see that a lot. The New York Islanders are one of those teams that have always done that. If you've got the Islanders with the lead going into the third period, if there's ever a chance to bet under shots, do it. I've never looked at it, but they don't shoot the ball. They don't shoot the puck when they've got a lead late in the game.
And that is, such a great take because you're right. Each goal is so important when 5.5 is the number. I just can't ever bring myself to taking that plus 1.5 in hockey. But I do want to know what the percentage of empty net goals are. So Ralph, we'll.
I don't know that D-Base is going to have that. That's going to be a difficult thing to assess from a database.
You'd have to research that. And I do want to point out that you do play a lot of totals. Now, if you're afraid of the empty net at the end of the game, why do you still play totals? That's one of the reasons I don't play a lot of totals because of that. Yeah. What's your reason?
I play a ton of totals. I'm about 50-50 in totals and sides, and I've just been completely in the zone in totals, but I really try to play the number 6. So that does normally protect me from that empty net goal. But you're right, dude. It makes, I'm a hypocrite. It makes no sense. I'm not scared of that empty netter with the total, but I am with the plus 1.5. And maybe it's because a lot of the plus 1.5s are very, very juiced. Look, sure, Detroit against Tampa Bay won't be, but most of them are high chalk. Anyway, let's get into this Montreal Leaf game, Bri. A fascinating game for me. Obviously, I'm a Leaf fanatic. I never bet against the Leafs. It's the only thing that I keep pure in my life in sports. I don't like the spot for the Leafs here, but as I said on Puck Time, I didn't like the spots last game or the game before or the game before that, and they won all 3. So I think the Leafs are becoming one of those teams that they can beat the bad spots. What do you like in this game?
It's interesting how you say you don't bet against your team. I'm from Cleveland, and I bet against my team more than I've ever bet on them because I know that team better than anybody else, and I know where the weaknesses are. And I want to win my bet, but if I happen to lose my bet, hey, my team won. But still, I want to win my bet.
Brian, I just got to tell you, Brian, really quick on that note, because then Teddy is going to talk. But really quick, I used to bet against the Leafs many years ago, and I found myself jumping out of the couch going, yes, every time they scored. I forgot that I was betting against them, and I was struggling with that concept because it's so ingrained in me to cheer for them when they scored that I just literally said, that's it. I couldn't emotionally handle what was going on, so I just stopped. But anyway, dude, I hate the spot for the Leafs tonight, but I can't bet Montreal. Tell me what you're doing.
This should be a high-scoring game. I didn't play the total on this game. It is 6, but you've got 2 of the top teams ranking 2nd and 5th in the league in goals per 60 minutes, 5-on-5. So both teams can score at will. The reason why I like Toronto in this game is the advantages on the special teams. You take a look at the special teams from the power play standpoint. Per 60 minutes, expected goals, The Canadians are plus 6.01 on the season. The Leafs 8.14. To get a 2-goal differential in special teams is just huge. And also, when you take a look at the penalty kill, the Habs are minus 6.07 and the Maple Leafs minus 4.79. That's a 1.3 differential, basically. So if there's any penalties in this game, anytime there's a penalty, Toronto has a severe advantage in this game. And when you look at how they play 5-on-5, they're virtually equal. So you throw in the home advantage for Toronto, which is very slight, and then you have the special teams play. I think the Toronto line's really cheap here. I played them.
Yeah, I mean, Toronto play. Prez just sent me a note to talk about Toronto, that I can mention their power play has been a disaster the last 2 weeks. But let's
Just
talk about
try
the
to
last
help,
game.
baby.
Yeah, I appreciate it. But that game's already in the rearview mirror, and we're moving on to the next game, which is the Arizona Coyotes and the LA Kings. Right now, looking at the WagerTalk live odds screen, LA a very short favorite. They're down to pick 'em at a couple of books, but let's call it minus 115. Total 5.5 to the under. What do we do in this one, Brian? Kings and Coyotes.
This one plays out very much like the other one, where you have a look at the 5-on-5. Teams are very close. Arizona on the season minus 0.28 in expected goals. LA minus 0.42. Problem with this game from an Arizona standpoint is the situation that they're in, playing and now pulling the upset and now having to play on the road here against LA. You take a look at the power play, expected goals. We're looking at Arizona at 4.48, one of the worst in the league. LA's dominated in special teams all year, and I made a lot of money doing it, playing on them because of that. They're at 6.55, so you've got over a 2-goal advantage on power plays if you were to play 60 minutes of power play action. The penalty kill, we've got the Coyotes minus 8.12 expected goals if they were to play 60 minutes. And you've got the Kings at minus 6.68, so another 1.5 goal advantage for the Kings. So we're looking at another 3-goal advantage in special teams. 5-on-5 teams are very close, could go either way. But the special teams really put LA over in this game. And the only problem I have about this game is every other person I've talked to that bets hockey is on the Kings tonight. And we've seen this so many times. If the game is so obvious, it goes down. That's my only concern, but you've got to throw that out when you've got this kind of advantage for the Kings. And I really like the Kings. They're slumping a little bit now, but this is a team that I think is a moneymaker as the season goes on.
Yeah, and Brian, I'm one of those guys that bets hockey, and I lean on the Kings. I don't like them. I mean, it's a really bad spot for Arizona, but I mean, they've just been on such a roll lately and scoring over 4 goals a game in their last 6 or 7. Anyway, man, guys, I just want to tell everybody, Bryan Leonard on a 10-2 hockey run. Brian, that's great stuff. Double-digit profit on the season. You definitely know your stuff. That is for sure. We love having you on here. What do you have to promote?
I've got the 2 hockey plays that I'm using today. I've just given to you, so no need to buy those. I do have 3 plays in baseball. Tampa was one of them, but you'll have to pay for the other 2. But I do want to point out, this is the last week for the $200 off special for our baseball packages, season packages. So if you're looking to buy the season package in baseball, and I know Dave Koken going into last night was undefeated on the baseball season. I think he might have split. But yeah, a lot of great baseball handicappers and WagerTalk. Last chance to get $200 off our season package, and that'll be the ending this week.
Awesome. And yeah, Dave did split last night. He's now 6-1 on the season. Bryan Leonard, everybody. Teddy, get those chops ready. Big game breakdown coming, delving into some streaks. Arthur DiCesare, penalty box segment, so much more. Stay with us, everyone. 20 seconds.
With a WagerTalk one-day power pass, you receive every play from every betting consultant for one full day at the ridiculously discounted price of just $149. What's better than spending the day watching and following a great slate of games? Watching, following, and winning those games. Get every WagerTalk expert and every game they release for that day.
time for today's big game breakdown. Let's talk a little NBA on ESPN for Wednesday night. The Brooklyn Nets at home against the New Orleans Pelicans. Right now, looking at the WagerTalk live odds screen, we've got the Nets. Let's call them a 9-point favorite in most locations. Total sitting in the 233, 233 and a half range. And this is going to be a short and sweet big game breakdown today because I'm going to explain why, from a side standpoint, you must pass this game. Now, there's a total lead, but from a side standpoint, let's start with this. All right, number one takeaway. Your first game when the star comes back, the team is a bet against, not a bet on. Kevin Durant upgraded to probable now for Brooklyn. Yeah, he's going to get on the floor, likely. And what's he going to do? He's going to mess with the rotations. He's going to mess with the guys who are getting shots. He's going to mess with we see it again and again and again. Just look at Embiid. When Philly got Embiid back against Minnesota on Saturday is a prime example, number one. Yeah, win the game, in control, not there to cover the point spread. All right. I don't trust Brooklyn that first game with the star back. It's a bet against, not a bet on. The markets tend to knee-jerk the other way. So it's New Orleans or pass right from the get-go. And the Pelicans, I mean, they got Zion and Ball back in the lineup. They still don't have Brandon Ingram back. And we don't know if Zion's going to sit on the second of back-to-backs. They've been non-competitive without at least two of those guys in the lineup. They haven't been real good on the second of back-to-backs. They allowed 64.5% shooting from three-point range last night, 20 of 31. Only shot 40% themselves. They're not a very good team. But of course, they're breaking in a new point guard, Isaiah Thomas, who actually played fairly well last night, but a guy hasn't played in a year. We don't know if he's going to go on the second of back-to-backs. So you have point guard questions for New Orleans. And then you have this quote from Stan Van Gundy. He talked about the third quarter where Atlanta got real hot. Quote, "It became a shootout and we couldn't match them in that quarter in a shootout. I thought we got in their style of basketball and not ours." And Gundy wants to slow it down. He wants to play defense in theory. Brooklyn's been cashing more unders and overs of late. Maybe you look at this one under 233. No fun to watch this. Yeah, the under. And I wouldn't be shocked if they got to 270 tonight. Not a strong lead. This is the game. I'm trying to break it down like, yeah, this is a pass. And sometimes you find games, you break them down and you pass. Slight lean under. That's what I got for today's big game break.
Teddy Covers. That's such a great take about those the guys who come back, stars come back into the lineup, and it makes so much sense from a basketball perspective, more so than any other sport, I think. So another great angle. I mean, Jesus, between you and Bryan Leonard, you guys listening to the show, I hope you're taking notes. Speaking of which, Teddy, let's get to the segment that you want to do about streaks. You did all the heavy lifting here, so I'm just going to hand the mic over to you, brother.
Actually, Ralph Michaels did all the heavy lifting, and I'll give Ralph a ton of credit. So Zogi, at Zogi on Twitter, sent a message yesterday. He says, "I watched WagerTalk show today, and I have questions on streaks. Dave Sharapan mentioned to fade teams who've lost the last 3 games straight. Is this an auto fade, or is it still situational? Also, does it work after you've won 3 straight?" And I got the tweet, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, why don't we know this? Right? Because it's not an easy database. when I was talking to Ralph to how to run it, I'm like, it's not easy to do because you have to see the teams that lost 3 in a row. So they won their 4th game and then lost. And then you have to take the teams that won their 4th game back, and then it's loss. So each time you're extending the streak out one more to see how it plays out. And same thing with the wins. But the bottom line is this is what we found. This is what Ralph found. And it's what I'm going to report on. Right? If you break down, I'm going to start rising the losing streak. Teams that are losing after they've lost 3 games in a row. The 4th game, they continue to lose a little bit. The 5th game, they continue to lose a little bit. The 6th game, they continue to lose a little bit. You can do that. It's basically break even. All right? And with the teams that have won 3 in a row, it's also, you look at it blindly, games that have won 3, 4, 5 in a row going to the 4th, 5th, 6th games, there's not much there. It is not worth blindly betting this trend that we all talk about, riding streaks in MLB. But you start finding some subsets, and that's where it gets real interesting and why we had to bring it up today. All right. So here's a team that's lost 3 in a row, and they're favorites in the 4th game. Or they're favorites in the 5th game. They lost 4 in a row. Or they're favorites in the 6th game. Profitable to support those teams blindly. Not significant, but marginally profitable to support those squads. As favorites, teams that have lost 3 in a row that are now dogs. Bet against on a 3-game losing streak, a 4-game losing streak, a 5-game losing streak. However, once they've lost 6 in a row, it flips. These are all numbers since 2016. The 6-game losing streak, the back-to-back series losses. If you bet on the team that's lost 6 in a row as an underdog, that's been a negative subset. However, flip it around. Look at the teams that have been winning. All right, teams that have won 3 in a row. Do we ride these streaks? Again, you look at it blindly, and there's really not much there. You get a little bit to support these teams as favorites. 3-game winning streaks, 4-game winning streaks, 5-game winning streaks. But again, after they've won 6 in a row, that next game, strong bet against. Negative 16% ROI. Okay, that's significant. All right. When you look at them as a dog, if they've won straight up 6 in a row and now they're a dog, or 4 in a row, 5 in a row, 6 in a row. Again, basically negative. So teams on a winning streak that are underdogs in the marketplace have been bet against, not bet on. So I hope that explains some of it. The bottom line is one takeaway. All right. You're betting against you're betting on the teams that are losing. You're betting against the teams that are riding losing streaks. You want to bet against them as underdogs, not if they're favorites. That's, to me, the number one takeaway from all of this. But it does show that in certain situations, as dogs, as favorites, when we break it down further, you can really find some positive expectation and negative expectation situations when it comes to riding these streaks, as opposed to the general advice, oh, just ride the streaks in MLB. I hope I gave you some specifics today. Great info from Ralph. Thank you for the question very much. I thought it was a really good question from Zogi, and I hope I answered it at least reasonably well. I'm not convinced that I did. Back to you, Mr. Prez.
How good is this show, everybody? Please hit that like button. Come on, man. You know what my takeaway from that segment was, Teddy? Thank God it's got a rewind button. That was my takeaway, because there's no way anybody who listened to that once got all of that juicy, great information. Arthur DiCesare joining us. Art, I miss the platypus, man. Come on. Where's the hat?
Good morning, gentlemen. And absolutely, Prez, that was a phenomenal segment. Sitting on hold. That was awesome. Yeah. I'm going to have to go back and rewind and take a little bit of notes on that. That was awesome.
Well, let me ask you, Arthur, just real quick, because do you see people coming to the LINQ and their betting strategy in MLB is let's bet the streaks? Let's bet on them. Do you see more action on people fading a team that's lost 4, 5, 6, 8 in a row? Teams winning 4, 5, 6, 8 in a row? Do they automatically get more action in the book, or is it there's just another team, just another day? It's not like the streak riding stands out in MLB. I guess that's a very convoluted question, but I think you can answer it maybe.
No, Teddy, absolutely. And I just know from talking to people, and even my own strategy when I bet baseball, I'll look at a team and I'm like, man, they've lost 4 straight. It's a good team. They got to get it. They got to get a win today. Who's pitching? This, that, and the other. So I even look at it from just the way I look at baseball. So, yeah, I definitely like streaks as well, because obviously baseball is day in and day out. We get all these series and, this, that, and the other. So baseball really is that sport where you literally get day in and day out action. So, oh, yeah, I definitely think some people will ride streaks. Obviously, some people are pitcher-based, total-based, whatever. But I think the streak thing is actually got some importance in baseball.
Arthur DiCesare, everyone. It looks like you haven't shaved since our last show. That thing's getting pretty heavy. What We love having you on Wager Talk today. We need some actionable information. I'm going to hand it over to Teddy. I'm going to sit back, listen, and enjoy. Guys, hit that like button. Show Art some love. Teddy?
Yeah, of course, Arthur DiCesare at ArtDice21 on Twitter. The supervisor at the Race and Sports book at the LINQ Hotel and Casino on the fabulous Las Vegas Strip. And Art, if we're going to, Prez keeps pointing out what's going on up here and over here. I got to ask you, though. So every winter, I grow it, and then when it gets to be 80 degrees in Vegas, like it's supposed to be today, I shave it. You did the opposite. Explain.
I know, man. I'm backwards. Yeah, I think once we go through that March Madness, I'm kind of like one of those, hey, let's get through it. I'm not going to shave. I'm kind of one of those superstitious type guys. I guarantee you for our next show, I will be never clean shaved because I'll look like I'm 12, but I will definitely be trimmed up. I think once we get through, Super Bowl, March Madness, now I can start to breathe a little bit. I'll be trimmed up.
Okay. So we have three sports on center stage right now. Baseball, hockey, NHL, MLB, NHL, NBA. Let's go through each of them individually when it comes to breaking down today's card and breaking down some betting action. I'll let Prez ask the NHL because he's all hot and heavy. Let's talk hockey, but let's talk baseball right off the bat. Are there any teams that have been particularly hot in the marketplace early on, teams that bettors are gravitating towards early, or is it just the usual suspects? Are bettors fading the Oakland A's yet every game? Has that started to happen? What are we seeing in terms of some of these early MLB likes and dislikes in the betting markets?
Yeah, obviously, Teddy, when it comes to baseball, usual suspects, people betting on the Dodgers, people betting on the Yankees, obviously going to lay the run line with them. When you look at Oakland, obviously Oakland hasn't won a game yet. They're playing the Dodgers, so obviously people are betting on the Dodgers. We always get a lot of Dodger money. I would say the one game today that's jumped out, there hasn't been a lot of movement, but you had the Twins open at minus 160. It's been a 15-cent move. It's went to minus 175 against Detroit. They're coming off that extra inning loss yesterday. So you've seen a little bit movement early today on the Twins.
Sure. And the Twins, from what I'm looking at, that the leading indicator books are saying that line could continue to go higher. So if you're like Minnesota, you want to get on them earlier rather than later. Arthur telling us that is a strong wise guy play for Wednesday. Let's talk about the association, the NBA, which has been treating me fairly well of late. How's it been treating the bettors fairly well of late? And again, are we seeing any teams that are proving to be particularly popular in the markets right now or particularly unpopular? Is anyone betting the Oklahoma City Thunder these days?
Teddy, I think I always say the NBA wise guys, they're out there, of course. I don't have anyone in my life who I'm like, oh yeah, they're doing this or doing that, and they have a team that they're really riding or fading. I know we've talked about people wanting to fade the Lakers, I think, on the last show. And, obviously that wouldn't have worked yesterday. But I would say the two things that have jumped out in the NBA today, Celtics open -4 against the Knicks. The Knicks have been one of the big surprises of the NBA season. It's now -3. Obviously, the Celtics lost last night. They're on a back-to-back. So people have taken the Knicks. The Knicks have been really favorable to people this year. And then that total in the Brooklyn Pelicans game, it was 231, went to 233. Both teams are over teams. Brooklyn's 10 games over on the over. Pelicans are 16 games on the over. So big total, but people are betting that over.
Yeah, and I just made a case in Big Game Breakdown to look at the under for that total. But I also said this is a game that I'm likely going to pass. Prez, why don't you ask him some NHL? I see you're sitting there chomping at the bit. You're giving me that dirty look. Prez, give me stink eye over there.
No dirty look from me, Teddy. I'm in a great mood. But you know what? Before we get into NHL, Art, we got the Masters starting tomorrow. I'm really excited about this tournament. We're going into full lockdown again in Toronto, which just drives me beyond. So I'm going to be watching a lot of golf. Dustin Johnson, he's the favorite to win at plus 900. Nick Borman was on yesterday. He gave out Cantlay at plus 2,000. I don't want to bug. I don't want to get in Dave Koken's bad books, but he actually released a play that you can buy, and it's also Cantlay to win. It's only a 1% play, but those are two guys I got a lot of respect for. And at plus 2,000, might as well take a shot. What type of bets are you taking on the Masters? Any really wise action coming in? Any outright winner or head-to-head matchup you can give us?
You know, Prez, as a guy who's basically never swung a golf club in his life, I'm not the guy to listen to when it comes to golf. But I will say this. Had a lot of people in the book the last couple of days. Obviously, the Masters is one of the great American events. We get it in April this year. Phenomenal. Even as a guy, like I said, who's never swung a golf club, I still watch the Masters. How can you not? It's a tradition unlike any other, right? So I will say this, the people come in and, they want to take their long shots, but, the heavy hitters, Fanu, DeChambeau, the Johnson boys, you always get those type of people getting the action. So those are the people I've seen the bet on, but, nothing as far as anything sharp that I could report on.
Let's get to some NHL. And, it's interesting. You got Arizona just rocking and rolling right now. I mean, absolutely dominating over the last 2 weeks, playing a Kings team that's lost 3 in a row. Yet 84% of the tickets that we're seeing have been written on the Kings. That suggests that there's a lot of very smart bettors in hockey. Any thoughts on that game or any particular game going into today?
Yeah, Prez, when you look at that game, I was thinking the same thing. Why wouldn't you take Arizona? But then you really think, well, I should probably take the Kings here. And the Kings obviously being a short favorite. So it's interesting when you look at an NHL line. It's weird.
Sorry.
No, it's weird. But the game I wanted to talk to you about is obviously a game that would be close to your heart. Montreal and Toronto, the under sitting at 6. I look at the under and I like the under, but I don't know. I just think late in the season, maybe these teams are going to play a little tight. I know you've talked about 6. When you get a 6, it's not terrible to take an under or an over, depending on how you look at it. I personally like the under. I'm really interested to see what your take is on that total.
Yeah, I don't agree with you. And it looks like Hutch is going to play in that. And if he doesn't, Jack Campbell is definitely ready for a bad game. 8 wins in a row. Allen is in net for Montreal. Montreal is starting to slowly put some points on the board. And what worries me, Art, is that the Toronto power play has just been dormant for the last 2 weeks. And finally, they put a goal in last game. I think this that power play is going to break out tonight. I actually prefer the over in that game. But I am back and forth on the side. It's a bad spot for Toronto, but they're just so much better than Montreal in all facets of the game. Anything else in NHL?
No, I mean, obviously, Knights St. Louis, that's a big game. Obviously, the Knights came out, broke their streak the other night, killed St. Louis. Once again, minus 150. Knights are always going to have a little bit of juice here in town. We get that. Yeah. So, people will be on the Knights. I don't know. Maybe this is a nice spot for St. Louis, a little bounce back. You get a little plus money, but I wouldn't feel good either way on it, to be honest with you. But that's another game to keep your eye on.
Yeah, I can't play the Knights tonight, but St. Louis, 1 million losses in a row. This team is a disaster. Teddy, what did you want to say?
I wanted to ask Arthur. I wanted to thank him for joining us. I wanted to ask him if there's anything he wants to promote before we let him go. At ArtDice21 on Twitter. At the LINQ Race and Sportsbook.
Gentlemen,
Las Vegas trip.
Gentlemen, it's always a pleasure to join you guys on every Wednesday. Obviously, I love it. And yeah, guys, I'm at the LINQ, man. I'm there basically 5-6 days a week. 5 days a week, basically now since we are done with all the craziness of football, March Madness, but always come down, say hi. I get a lot of people who come down, say, hey, I watched the show, love the guys. And, just come down, come talk to me. I'll always give you a little bit of betting info, a little actionable info, break down the lines for you, teach you how to gamble. So come say hi.
Awesome stuff. Arthur DiCesare, everyone. Follow him on Twitter at ArtDice21. Art, we absolutely love having you on this show. It's time for me to hit the penalty box segment. Top to bottom, guys. Only 5 games on tap. All right, guys, before we get into it, real quick, big card over at WagerTalk.com. Teddy Covers as a 5% play up in NBA. Dude's been absolutely rolling in NBA, and these 5% plays for him, he doesn't put out a ton. We also have Ralph Michaels with a 5% play in hockey. I think it's his first 5% hockey play of the year. And Kevin Dolan with a 5% hockey play as well. And they're on different games. So there's 3 games for you guys to bet tonight. I had a 5-1 night last night. Absolutely rocked. And I'm just in the zone in hockey. I got a 50% off package over at WagerTalk.com, 50% off my entire NHL season. I got a minute and 20 seconds to go through the board. Ottawa, Edmonton, game starts at 5 p.m. I like Edmonton and the over. This is one of those situations where I feel like Edmonton's going to be able to get me 3 goals bare minimum, which means I can't go 0-2. I think I got a 50% shot at 1-1, a 30% shot at 2-0, and a 20% shot at 0-2. I like that math. I'll take Edmonton and the over. Toronto and Montreal, I like the over in this game, guys. I think we're going to see a high-scoring game. As for St. Louis and Vegas, I'm looking at the under in this game. Vegas is the second best defense in the league. St. Louis is absolutely struggling to score. 5.5. I think this game's got 3-1 written all over it. I also like the under in the Colorado-Minnesota game. It's pretty much the only way Minnesota can beat Colorado. And they have lost 5 of 7 in this head-to-head matchup. So I expect Minnesota to come out and give their best. That makes an under. As for Arizona and the Kings, I like the under in that game too. That's it for me. What an amazing show. Teddy Covers, take us home.
I want to thank Bryan Leonard for joining us today. I want to thank Arthur DiCesare for joining us today. And I want to thank you, Lauren. Well, no, he took his headphones off. We don't want to thank Prez. But I want to thank you out there in viewer land. Really appreciate you taking your time out of your busy day to hang out with us here on Wager Talk Today. We'll be back again tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. here on the left coast, noon on the East Coast. Between now and then, enjoy the games and good luck tonight. Cheers.
With a WagerTalk one-day power pass, you receive every play from every betting consultant for one full day at the ridiculously discounted price of just $149. What's better than spending the day watching and following a great slate of games? Watching, following, and winning those games. Get every WagerTalk expert and every game they release for that day.